These rocky shores where I call home, where my heart longs to be. Whenever I roam, it's these rocky shores, it's where I long to be. Yes, it's these rocky shores, they are home to me.
Whenever I leave here, it hurts me so, with tears in my eyes, oh I hate to go. There ain't no work, and the kids need new clothes, the bills need paying, so off I must go.
These rocky shores where I call home, where my heart longs to be. Whenever I roam, yes, these rocky shores is where I long to be. Yes, these rocky shores, they're home to me.
Where did it all go? The life I once had on the ocean's gentle road. My tears in my eyes and my head in my hands, away from my family, I hope they understand.
That is these rocky shores where I call home, it's where my heart longs to be. Whenever I roam, yes, these rocky shores where I long to be. Yes, these rocky shores, they are home to me. Yes, these rocky shores, they are home to me.
Good evening. Welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight's stories include air quality is being tested at both schools, a full house turnout for a public meeting concerning hunting and fishing, MHA Bill Ramsey was in town this past week, Councillor Sims will be along with the Town Council report, these stories plus community events, BBS Playbill, Off the Rack, and more coming up in just a moment.
Each year in Canada, hundreds of fires are started by children playing with lighters and matches. Children as young as 18 months can operate a lighter and start fires. The consequences couldn't be more deadly. Keep lighters and matches out of sight and out of reach of children. A message from Health Canada and this broadcaster.
A great deal of concern has been raised lately about rumored changes in the big game and salmon licenses. A public meeting regarding this issue brought a large crowd to the Lions Community Centre on Monday evening. The importance of changes to the big game hunting and salmon licenses for Burgeo residents was evident by the more than 170 people who gathered at the Lions Centre on Monday evening. Meeting organizer Joe Hiscock told the gathering about the issues facing local hunters and fishers, and how they compare to issues faced 11 years ago.
It was just about 11 years ago, it was in April of 1987, when I called a meeting. The government was planning on this green paper of the changes that they were going to implement into salmon fishing and moose hunting. That would be like for the outfitters. And back then, I told you what it was that I perceived it to be of what their plans were. And basically what it was is that the outfitters are not being able to give their non-residents the genuine quality experience because they're running into the resident either salmon fishing or hunting. And they're trying to make the outfitting industry a viable one for the outfitters. And how they're proposing to do that is to give the outfitters certain areas that are exclusive to non-residents. Now what that will mean basically is that you will not be allowed to hunt and fish in that particular area unless you go through that outfitter. That's what this meeting has been called again for, because the government, again, is gearing itself up, and now it seems like they're really going after it now too. I passed out a few pamphlets, or just little things that I had made up, and it's letters basically to the editors, the newspapers, people that are airing little rumblings and whatnot. And went back in 11 years ago that we didn't air anything if it hadn't been for me accidentally coming by this paper here, that the government would have passed it right then. I'm fully convinced of that. And if we don't do something now, they're going to pass it again. And once it has been passed, that they're going to give those outfitters the licenses in designated areas. Basically, if there is an established outfitter there now, whether it's for moose hunting or whether it's for salmon fishing, that you, as a local or a resident, will not be allowed to fish or hunt in that particular area where that outfitter is unless you go through that outfitter. And if he says he wants, and I believe they've quoted somewhere, it's $150 a day. And that's what you'll have to pay if this is passed. So again, because this is coming up, we've got all kinds, and now they're talking about, there's some clippings here, another one here that says that the area could see 11 more big game outfitters being established. And it says that they have approved 6 new big game outfitting permits, and there's another 5 permits were issued to sports fishing camps to expand into big game. So what they're trying to do, they're trying to make it viable for the outfitters, but at our expense.
Also present at Monday's meeting were Bernie Rumbold and Gerald Pike from the Bay St. George Sports Hunting and Fishing Association.
Well, I'm going to stand up too, so I can see all the way down the back. I haven't seen a crowd this big yet anywhere. It's not the first time I've been in this building, by the way. I've been down here before. Kevin Thorne, where are you? That's the gentleman that's responsible for getting this together. He called me when he was in Stephenville. He gave me Matt's name, and I called Matt. Talked to Matt a couple of times, and then Joe called. And I guess Joe was the man I sat down and watched Joe's video. And where you're at in 87, you're at today. Last spring, I guess everybody says that you got to do something. So this gentleman here, Mr. Pike, I will call him Mr. He's older than I am. Now, everybody says you need to do something. So Gerald called a meeting of the public, and there was a few who showed up. And we had a second meeting. We put a steering committee in place, and to make any organization work, you need laws. A constitution, you need bylaws of what a membership is. This is a franchise thing. We're incorporated. We got to pay our dues and everything to the government if we generate so much money, but we haven't got to that figure yet. When we got it in place, there was a big interest. We ended up with a fair-sized crowd in the College of the North Atlantic. But when you talk about membership fees to support the people that got to go out and do the work, if it costs $10, it's a lot of money and people walk away. It's another racket. But the government, we met Mr. Howard, Mr. Smith, and chatted with Mr. Ramsey. One liar is as good as the other one. Mr. Howard knows what's going on. He's a politician and you can't pin him. But we're going to pin him.
Toward the end of the meeting, the gathering weighed their options.
Well then, again, who wants to form our own committee? Who wants to join up with the Bay St. George? Boys, I think it's awful overwhelming, and I can certainly...
Six people, Joe Hiscock, George Reed, Gord Hand, Cam Benoit, Matt Parsons, and Norm Marsden, were nominated by the gathering to represent the interests of the area with the Bay St. George Hunting and Fishing Association. The schools here in Burgeo are 2 of 4 in the school district that are currently having their air quality tested. The air quality at St. John Central High and A.J. Matthews Elementary was tested this past week. 2 days of air quality testing were carried out at both St. John Central High and A.J. Matthews School this past week.
I'm speaking with Dave Muse. I understand that you work with a company that tests the air quality in various buildings?
Yes, it's Pinch and O'Blow Environmental at St. John's. We have offices in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick as well.
Okay, so how exactly do you go about testing the air in a building? What do you check for?
Well, a lot of that depends on what the complaints are, the age of the building, the construction of the building. There's many factors that go into that, but there's a set of comfort levels that we would check in every school we go into, and we're checking those in both schools here in Burgeo, and they would be CO2 levels, temperature, relative humidities, and carbon monoxide levels in each room in all the classrooms. Among other things, down here we're testing for fungus and bacteria in the air. We're testing for something called volatile organic compounds, VOCs, which are compounds that can be emitted by everything from cleaning supplies to stuff coming off your magic marker, smells coming off your magic marker, or paints, glues, inks, that sort of stuff, to see if there's any of that stuff lingering in here.
Okay, you're testing both the schools in Burgeo.
Yes.
How many schools in the district are you testing at this time?
We've tested 4 schools at this time.
Okay, I understand the school board has hopes of getting all the schools in the district tested at a later date.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the hope. I think the province hopes that all the schools in the whole province can be tested at some point.
Okay, how long will it take once you've completed your testing to compile the results?
Some of the stuff that I'm testing for has to be sent to a lab. So there's a lag time of at least 2 weeks there before I get results back into my hands. And there is going to be 4 reports to write, so that's going to take a bit of time. I can't see having the reporting completed before, I'm going to need at least a month after sampling is complete and the data is all collected.
Okay, so once you've compiled this data, what will you be doing with it?
I will be sending my report directly to District 4 School Board, and they will do with it what they see fit and distribute it to whoever is going to be getting the copies of it, and act on any recommendations that it entails.
Okay, is there anything further that you would like to add?
Not really, not at this time. Again, this is just in a very preliminary stage in this whole process, and it is a process, and the first step is to come in and determine if there's any kind of problems related to the air quality in the school. The second step obviously will be to do something about them problems if in fact we do find something. But you can't put the cart before the plow, so to speak, so we're doing it one step at a time.
Okay, well, we'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak to us today.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. There's more of This Week in Review still to come.
It can happen in mere seconds. It can happen while you're in the house. The thing is, it should never happen. Keep lighters and matches out of sight and out of reach of children. The consequences couldn't be more deadly. A message from Health Canada and this broadcaster.
MHA for Burgeo and Lapoille, Bill Ramsey, was in town this past week. Mr. Ramsey stopped by our studio for an interview on Friday afternoon. Speaking with me in the studio today is MHA for Burgeo and Lapoille, Bill Ramsey. Welcome to our studio, Mr. Ramsey.
Thank you, Dave.
Can you tell us the nature of your visit to Burgeo at this time?
Yes, I decided for 1998 to come down on a more regular basis. Over the last 2 years, I've been able to get here approximately 4 to 5 times, 4 to 5 constituency clinics a year. Last year, there were a number of times that I had scheduled to come to town, and due to weather and other situations, was unable to do so. So this time, I've decided to do it on at the very least every 2 months to be in town for a 2-day constituency clinic, so people have an idea. And I'm intending to get a schedule prepared so that people know well ahead of time when I'm going to be around. And this particular visit, I met a couple weeks ago with the director of School District Number 4, Andy Butt, about the proposal that had been discussed concerning the school for Burgeo to try to lobby for a new school for the area, and the idea of potentially considering bringing the Recreation Commission's plans into the same planning process to see if in fact there's a viable proposal there, if there's a way of making that work. So I decided that after meeting with Andy that we'd come down here and meet with the people who are involved with the steering committee that have been set up here to guide the process and see if in fact it was a viable thing to be pursuing. We met yesterday and had a very good meeting and looked at some possible terms of reference that we can sort of draft up prior to informing the public of what the public's choices are, because it's ultimately up to the public how to proceed with this and what they want us to do with efforts to try to secure funding and the variety of issues surrounding the public funds that have already been raised and the efforts to develop a school complex here for the community as well. So we want to keep the public fully involved in the process, and this is an initial part of that. We've had the engineering firm that the town has, their engineering consultants, Atlantic Engineering from Corner Brook, and they've been in and just done a preliminary look at a possible terms of reference and are doing some just some work on it, just in the stage of trying to determine if if they were to do a feasibility study for us, just how much that would cost. So that's the stage that we're at now. We intend to keep the public fully informed and have a public meeting sometime in the very near future to gauge the community's interest and support for the concept, get some of the community ideas on what we should explore, and also to let them know how much a feasibility study would cost and how we would try to secure funding to pay for that feasibility study.
Okay, in addition to your meeting with regarding the school, you've also had several other meetings over the past 2 days.
Yes, pleased with some of the, of course, a lot of constituents come to see me while I'm here and about individual problems, and that's what I spend the majority of my time doing. And also, I've had meetings with people on behalf of a number of different groups, and I met again with another group this morning, the Burgeo Development Board, VDDB, this morning, and we had a very productive meeting about an upcoming visit of the Provincial Cabinet Committee on Rural Revitalization. It's a committee of 6 ministers which will be coming to the area sometime in the very near future. We don't have a scheduled date yet. We did have one planned for late January, but we had to cancel because of other commitments of some of the ministers, and should get them in here sometime in the very near future to meet with the Town Council and the Development Board and other interested groups and or individuals who have project proposals or points that they want to bring forward to the Cabinet Committee in the interest of helping to secure Burgeo's future. There are a number of projects in the pipeline that have either been applied for or have been contemplated, maybe in various stages of analysis by government, and we want to deal with each and every one of these. The Rural Revitalization Committee's mandate is to try to make sure that the things that are having a difficult time from a bureaucratic standpoint are dealt with as immediately as possible. So to look at them, see if there's any way of expediting these applications that are in the system from a tourism standpoint, from anything to do with the rural area that they can help with in either approving some necessary funds to go forward with a proposal, to assist in the development of a proposal if there's something that's been contemplated and never really followed up on, and to assign some of the staff to assist and work with local development staff such as Sam Organ and other people in the community who have that the area's development as their interest for the future.
Okay, have you been involved in the Union and Seafreeze's attempts to secure funding under the Transitional Job Fund?
Working directly with the people at HRDC, most people understand it's a federal government program. We have been involved in offering the full provincial government support for the efforts of Bill Barry and the Union and them in supporting their application for transitional jobs funds. I've had discussions with Minister Efford in December as well as again this month about the issue, and have secured the provincial government's support for the applications that are in there. The way that the TJF works now, it requires the provincial government support for initiatives that are coming forward from different communities throughout the province. So we've given that support and have pushed for Burgeo to have these applications approved as soon as possible. I didn't get directly involved in meetings recently with the union and the company operations, and this is generally the way that the Seafreeze operators prefer. They prefer dealing with the local committee alone and not always with the government officials involved. So this is generally the way that they operate, and I've had a lot of experience operating with Seafreeze and their operations in Port aux Basques over the last 8 years, and generally if they have difficulties with government support and that, they'll come to see us, but if it's a matter of getting it through the approval process, they prefer to allow that to work its course and have it expedited where possible, which we're doing everything we can to do, but generally they operate in a way that would prefer that the government is there when they need them to help solve the problems, but not to have them involved at every step in the way.
Okay, another issue, I guess that's more of a federal issue but is raising a lot of concern is as the end of tags draws nearer. Mm-hmm. Has the provincial government had any dealings with Ottawa with respect to the August expiry date for tags? Yes,
significant. We've had it dealt with both in a direct way between the Premier and the Prime Minister. The Premier has made a plea to the Prime Minister to say, look, we have a problem here. We've got all of the people who are tied to the fishery. The fishery is not open and functioning as it should, and therefore something has to be done in a post-tags era. Once tags is over with, we have to do something to have people employed or to have people supported financially because it's not their fault. You know, the individuals involved in the fishery are not at fault for the fact that they're out of work. The federal government has taken responsibility for having mismanaged the fishery, and they have to do something about this, and we've put that to them very forcefully. In fact, their recent visit to Burgeo and other locations throughout Newfoundland and Labrador and elsewhere in Atlantic Canada were done as a result of pressure put on them by our provincial government. We made very clear that it was not satisfactory for them just to make a very brief visit to Newfoundland, a brief visit to Nova Scotia, and go back and write the report and make their decision. And the fuss that was kicked up at the time caused them to come to different areas of the province. Unfortunately, at the time when they visited Burgeo, I was in the House of Assembly in my duties as government whip and was unable to be here with them, but we had very strong presentations made on behalf of the government of Newfoundland, on behalf of the people of Burgeo and all other communities throughout the province, to say to them, look, something must be done. We have to have a post-tags package that has to look after and address. And it's not just going to address the needs of those people who are receiving tags benefits. And this is something that has to be very clear. And a problem that we're experiencing now is that we haven't done a very good job, both the people on tags and the people in government, I suppose, because everybody in the province has to realize just what impact that this tags money has on the overall economy of the province. It is the equivalent of, like, if you put no tags program back after tags runs out, what you have is a situation where there are, it's no different from closing down all 3 paper mills in Newfoundland and Labrador. It's no different from closing down every automotive manufacturing factory in Ontario. That's what it would be like to the economy of Ontario. So if the tags funding is not continued, that will have a severe impact on all of the people running businesses, all of the teachers and public sector workers throughout the hospital workers. Everyone in the province will suffer for the sake of tags money not being in the system or some post-tags program that's established. It's very, very important that all of the people who, even if they have a problem with the idea of the way tags was handled, we all have our difficulties with the way that a lot of aspects of the tags training and a variety of different things was handled. But recently, if you recall, in the news there was a comment on a public opinion poll which was published. This public opinion poll showed that 53%, I think it was, of Newfoundlanders did not agree with an extension to the tags program. Now, that was a problem because here we are going as the government of the province to the government in Ottawa to say we need to be funded while the fishery is closed. And you have an attitude in the rest of Canada now which is thinking of us, I suppose, as always getting handouts, even though this is a situation we didn't cause, even though this is an Ottawa-caused situation. There's not a lot of sympathy for us with the Reform Party type of people up there, with the general, what you call very conservative, some call it right-wing, people who are in government, and this includes Liberals in Ontario, who generally have a lot of that kind of sentiment in Ontario where things are moving very well economically. That causes us a big problem because we've had discussions with Paul Martin, the Federal Minister of Finance, about this issue, and he has pleaded with us and said, I've got to have these people on side. I've got to be able to stand up and say that if we do something for tags, I'm going to know that it's received general support throughout the country. So we're trying to do our part to explain to people just how important this is, that everybody, unless they're totally dead set against it, gets behind this, because if we don't get some extension of the tags program to allow people to receive some element of funding, we're just going to be in a very difficult situation from a provincial perspective. And it's not just the fishery workers, it's every store owner, it's every public servant, it's every individual who wants to buy goods or services in their own communities, because without these people, if they all have to uproot and move, which a lot of them are doing now anyway, and seek work elsewhere, then the general services we expect in a community are just not going to be able to be there for them, because the people are not able to sustain themselves around. So as more and more people move out, then there's less and less services able to be provided and sustained in small communities. So it's going to make a big impact if we don't get some help from the federal government.
Okay, Mr. Ramsey, are there any final comments that you'd like to make?
Well, just one, I've received a number of complaints and checked them out, and they're certainly complaints that I accept, and the criticisms, some people have found it difficult to get through to my office, and have also had complaints about the use of a message manager, which at this stage I'm going to disconnect, and hopefully with the live answering service that we have when I'm not in the office. We were hoping to have the toll-free number published in the phone directory for people's benefit, although for some reason it didn't get published in this year's phone directory, so hopefully that'll be in there soon. So I've taken out an ad in the Southwest Times with all of the numbers, my email address as well, and also that'll be on your the cable ad channel as well, showing the telephone numbers and email address if anyone wants to contact me. And like I say, I've taken calls anytime from 6 in the morning till midnight. Many times, even after midnight, I've accepted calls, and collect calls as well to my home. I don't publish my own regular home number, but I don't mind telling people it's 695-2555. I only keep that for the benefit of people who in our own home who need to use the phone at any time, because I'm usually so busy on the phone at almost all times that if they were all published, no one would ever get me, because the phones just keep ringing and ringing. So anyway, but I do want to offer my apologies to people who have complained and have said that they've had a difficult time reaching me, and am doing everything in my power to rectify the situation.
Okay, well, we'd like to thank you for coming in and speaking with us.
Thanks very, very much. Nice to be here in Burgeo again.
Councillor Sims is with us now with a report from the last council meeting.
Good evening, fellow citizens. A regular meeting of council was held on February the 4th, and some of the issues that were discussed are as follows. First, I want to tell you that some issues that we dealt with in those meetings we keep to a later date because of the requests from the residents. They asked us not to announce it on BBS or bring it outside at this time. But I will bring to you the issues that were of the concerns that we can take to you people. One of the issues was council was supposed to have met with the officials from Irving and Haltermere on January the 7th to discuss gas prices in our town. But the officials from both companies backed out of the meeting, and therefore the meeting did not go ahead. In this regard, council received a copy of the report on gasoline prices in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador that was done by the consumer advocate. Council also received a copy of a petition from a committee to abolish and rewrite the Young Offenders Act. This petition is at the town office, and anyone who would like to sign it can drop by and do so. And all it says is a memo to the town council members, and it's from just a committee to abolish and rewrite the Young Offenders Act. And there is, as I said in the report there, a petition at the town office, and anyone that feels that they think the Young Offenders Act should be abolished and rewritten should drop by and sign that petition. Council also have received a report on the quality of the town's drinking water. Since most of the concern is with the color of the water, council will be getting someone to come in and take a serious look at the system that we have now and see what improvements, if any, can be done. I think the most concern is with the color of the water. For me to try to explain to you of what the difference in our water and other communities and what our water is supposed to have and not should not have and those kind of things, it wouldn't be of any benefit, because I'm sure that there might be some people that would understand it, but there's supposed to be a expert coming. The town is supposed to be trying to get a expert in and try to get some improvement done so that we can have water that looks like is of a color that is, I suppose, fit to drink. And it goes on, another part of the agenda was 2 officials from council, the mayor and the town manager, attended a round-table meeting in Corner Brook to discuss the Marine Atlantic Gulf Ferry service. And one of the concerns expressed by our representatives was the high costs of crossing the Gulf. And that was, according to the representative, he said that this was one of the high concerns that was spoke on in this meeting. Another issue is the town is in the process of purchasing and erecting new street signs and along with posters. There is some thought being given in renaming some of the streets around our town. This could consist of names of places that people have moved from to Burgeo, names of trawlers that have sailed from Burgeo, names of sailing schooners, distinguished residents, etc. If anyone out there that has a name that they would like to be considered, they should pass them along to the town office or any council member. Don't wait too long to submit a name, because the council will be ordering those street signs so that they can be erected early this spring. Another issue, and the final issue that I can bring to you today, in the near future the town will be purchasing a mayor's chain of office. This chain of office will be worn at all council meetings, council functions, or any function that the mayor attends on behalf of the town. This town is one of few in the province that does not have a mayor's chain of office. And the chain of office is the chain that I guess most everyone have seen one time or another on television, or probably attending a function in other communities where the mayor attends. It's the chain that the mayor wear around the neck, well, like I said, when he attends the meetings, regular meetings and functions on behalf of the town. So our town is hoping to purchase one of those mayor's chain of office. And an invitation to anyone that would like to attend council meeting is welcome to do so. And our next regular meeting is scheduled for February the 18th, 98 at 7 p.m. We're going to try to do from Erhan, we're going to try to start all council meetings at 7 p.m. So thank you very much for listening.
Chevron has recently issued a warning that filling metal gas cans in the back of pickup trucks with a plastic liner could cause an explosion and fire. Chevron USA has issued a warning about incidents where metal gas cans have exploded while being filled in the back of pickup trucks at service stations. Plastic bed liners prevent the static charge generated by gasoline flowing into a metal can from grounding. This could create a spark between the gas nozzle and can, causing an explosion. If you're using a metal gas can, take it out of the truck and place it on the ground away from your vehicle before you have it filled. Stay with us for Off the Rack community events and the BBS Playbill. All that after this.
Each year in Canada, hundreds of fires are started by young children playing with lighters and matches. Teach your children that lighters and matches are not toys. And keep lighters and matches out of sight and out of reach of children. The consequences couldn't be more deadly. A message from Health Canada and this broadcaster.
Off the Rack. This week as we scanned our tape racks, we came across a video of a spring concert held at A.J. Matthews School. As we look back to the spring of 1993, how many of these young ones do you recognize?
The great big enormous carrot. Once upon a time, an old man planted a little carrot the old woman told the old man, the old man told the carrot. And they pulled and pulled again, but they could not pull it up. So the old woman called granddaughter. The granddaughter for the old woman, the old woman for the old man, the old man for the carrot. They pulled and pulled again, but they could not pull it out. The granddaughter called the dad. The black dog pulled the granddaughter. The granddaughter pulled the old woman. The old woman pulled the old man. The old man pulled the carrot. And they pulled and pulled again, but they could not pull it off. The black dog called the cat. The granddaughter pulled the old woman. The old woman pulled the old man. The old man pulled the carrot. And they pulled and pulled again, but they still they could not pull it up. The cat called out, "Mouse, come here and help me." The mouse pulled the cat pulled the dog pulled the granddaughter, the granddaughter pulled the old woman, the old woman pulled the carrot. They pulled and pulled again and up came the
Good evening and welcome to the community event segment of tonight's broadcast. I'm Rhonda Green. The RBP TV bingo held on Wednesday was won by Hilda Krant and Minnie Young. Congratulations to you both. The Long Hits will be holding a TV bingo on February 11th at 7 p.m. Cards are $1 each or 6 for $5 and are available from any Line S member or in most stores around town. Please support the Line S by TV bingo. The fire department is currently accepting applications for membership. If you have some free time and are interested in getting involved in this very worthwhile community group, you can pick up an application at the town hall or fire hall. The deadline for applications is Thursday, February 12th. The Berger Detachment of the RCMP are seeking public assistance in a report of property damage. Sometime last weekend, a vehicle had the side glass broken in the Misters area. Any person with information on the senseless act of vandalism or has to pass along any information to the RCMP. All information is kept confidential. Are you a smoker who would like to quit? Public Health Office will be offering a 6-week smoking cessation program if there are enough individuals interested. This program is free of charge. Adults and teenagers are welcome, but there will be separate groups for these ages. If you are interested or would like more information, please call Julia Young, the public health nurse, at 886-3360. The RCMP and Lions Club wish to invite Burgeo area residents to the community center tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. to view a drug play put off by Constable Boyd Mirror of Portabass Detachment. This play is gaining popularity province-wide and is worth seeing. This play will entertain and educate you on the illegal world of drugs that affect your community and children. If your group or organization has an upcoming event planned, we will be happy to advertise it for you. You can contact the BBS office by Wednesday of each week to have items included in this portion of our broadcast. That concludes the community event segment of tonight's program. See you next week.
BBS Playbill. Join us on Monday at 7 p.m. for No Second Chance, the snowmobile safety video. This video comes to us from the Volunteer Search and Rescue Team. Tune in on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for Pansy's Garden. Try your luck on Wednesday at 7 p.m. by playing Lioness TV Bingo. Bingo will be followed by Nakaska Plus 10. This video comes to us from the War Ants. Join us at 7 p.m. on Thursday for the Bandwagon. Join Pansy and the gang for craft stories and lots of fun Saturday morning, 11 a.m. on Pansy's Garden. And I'll be here again next week with This Week in Review. Please stay tuned now for the Bandwagon. For This Week in Review, I'm Dave Cooper. Good night.